Hi, if you've been following Kremlin news, you might have heard the claim that Russia is the main heir of the ancient Kyivan Rus state. Well, let's set the record straight. A millennium ago, Kyivan Rus was the biggest state in Europe and one of the richest. After its conversion from Slavic paganism under Grand Prince of Kiev Volodymyr the Great, it became a bulwark of Orthodox Christianity. Under Volodymyr's son, Yaroslav the Wise, it reached the height of its power and influence, such that Yaroslav's youngest daughter Anna was sought by King Henri I of France as his queen. Russia sees itself as the direct successor of the Kyivan Rus and has used this to justify its claims to all of the Kyivan Rus lands, which included parts of modern Ukraine and Belarus. Russian President Vladimir Putin recently even described Anna of Kiev, the daughter of Yaroslav the Wise, as Russian Anna, and called Yaroslav himself our great prince. Russia has also erected a huge statue of Volodymyr the Great in Moscow, although the Grand Prince has no connection to the Russian capital. It didn't even exist when he was alive. And Putin has described Ukrainians and Russians as one people, at one point referring to parts of southern and eastern Ukraine as Novorossiya, New Russia. But hang on, doesn't that name imply that the land was never part of Russia before? In fact, the south and east of modern Ukraine, including the Donbass, was never part of Kyivan Rus, or part of Russia, except as an imperial possession. Kyivan Rus collapsed after the Mongol invasion, and although Ukraine, Belarus and Russia can all trace their roots back to that ancient state, the truth is, none is its direct successor. After the demise of Kyivan Rus, for most of the time since then, the bulk of the land we now call Ukraine has been part of numerous empires and states, and only in the last few centuries were parts of it controlled by Russia. In fact, Volodymyr the Great, Yaroslav the Wise, and Anna of Kiev were never Russian as we now understand the adjective. They and their forefather Rurik, the founder of the Rus royal dynasty, actually had Scandinavian origins. That's right, they were Vikings. However, that doesn't fit with the Kremlin's propaganda line, which basically sees not only the lands of Kyivan Rus, but the whole of the former Soviet Union as Russia's imperial inheritance. Yes, by claiming to be the chief successor of the ancient Kyivan Rus state, and at the same time claiming that Ukrainians, Belarusians and Russians are really all one people, the Kremlin undermines the modern statehood of both Ukraine and Belarus. And by stealing their shared history, the Kremlin seeks to justify Russia's theft of Ukrainian territory.